boxing, beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
I did see Martin Bakole on the sparrings. Really? There are some stories when Martin used to say he stopped Usyk, which I never seen. But I remember myself assisting Martin in the corner, giving him water, like seconding him in the corner. I didn't know the guy. The ring was very small. It was like 4 to 4 meters, extremely small. And when Martin was fighting, I admitted his skills. So I didn't know his name. I didn't know where he was coming from, but I admitted his skills. So they told me it was Martin Bakole. I thought like this guy has some tremendous future.
Would Alexander fight him in a professional ring?
I think Alexander would not fight Martin Bakole for just one reason. Martin Bakole has no belt.
KRUSSYAK went on to say that Usyk will come back and the fight will likely be to get back the other belt that he vacated or got stripped of, the IBF belt. So is he only going to have one more fight to try and get back that IBF strap that he won in the ring? Because if he's saying he's only having one more fight, understandable. If Usyk plans to continue to fight, then why would he not fight Martin Bakole if Bakole is still a relevant contender? Why did KRUSSYAK feel the need to tell us that the ring Bakole and Usyk sparred in was 44 meters, extremely small? That's damage control, but he done it very subtly. Bakole obviously done very well in them sparring sessions while he's mentioning the size of the ring. Did he stop him? I don't know. I wasn't there. Then KRUSSYAK said he admitted Bakole's skill several times, so obviously Martin impressed. But there's a distinct possibility that Usyk and Bakole might be the hottest thing in the division right now. Bakole gets rid of a Jagba, and whether Usyk has a fight in between trying to get that IBF belt back or not, it might come down to this is the only relevant fight in the heavyweight division that the fans are calling for, that Turkey wants to make. What then? Usyk might not be looking for Bakole, but Bakole, in no uncertain terms, wants Usyk next. He said the fight he wants next is actually not Anthony Joshua. He wants Usyk. So if he gets through a Jagba Bakole, him and Billy Nelson are going to be very vocal, and they're going to be pitching for that Usyk fight as hard as Daniel Dubois and Frank Warren are. But neither Bakole or Daniel Dubois need to look past their prospective opponents, a Jagba or Joseph Parker. Look, boxers are just human, as far as I'm concerned. Is Usyk a little worried about the prospect of fighting Martin Bakole? I mean, who hasn't Bakole beat up in sparring sessions? They broke up Daniel Dubois' nose, stopped Usyk with body shots, whooped AJ's ass apparently. Haven't heard no rumors about Tyson Fury catching the hands, and he did spar Tyson.
Boxing, beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
Anthony Joshua, what's the latest on him? We've seen reports of a deal being done with Bakole, Deontay Wilder. What's the latest?
I mean, the social media rumour mill is always probably 10% true, and the latest one, just someone sent it to me on Saturday. Martin Bakole, Anthony Joshua is done, signed. We have not had one conversation about that fight. I'm not ruling it out, by the way, but it's not even been a conversation. So I don't know where that one came from.
Not for the first time, Eddie Hearn and Ben Shalom way out of sync. Ben Shalom apparently said the fight was signed.
He's just told us, he's just leaked the news. Him and Anthony Joshua, Africa, in the summer, it's going to happen.
It's done, it's done. I'm hearing he's signed and we're off to the Congo.
If I was to take a guess, sounds like Ben Shalom just doing a little bit of clout chasing, bit of free promotion for Martin Bakole, and putting Anthony Joshua's name in the narrative is as good as any to stir up the rumour mill. What's happening with Bakole and the Jagba? Do they have a location, a date? As the purse bid went through, I know it's for an IBF Eliminator. It's been a very slow burn in terms of promotion. Maybe Ben needs to focus on the actual fight that he's supposed to make, rather than Anthony Joshua for now.
Boxing, beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
There was an intensity about Daniel Dubois in his face-off, man.
Do you think this is a tougher fight than AJ?
Nah, I'll make him old on the night.
You think so?
I'll make him old on the night. You talk too much, man. 100%. We'll see. We'll see.
Joseph keeps saying that Daniel talks too much. He doesn't talk too much. He just replies to the interviewer's question, and he's very short, and he's very abrupt, and it's very straight to the point. But you don't have the hindsight of seeing the audio and the visual unless you watch the face-off. But I felt an aura of menace when he said, we'll see. There was an aura of menace there. And I'm not sure if Joe really is ready for this Daniel Dubois, the IBF champion. I've got Daniel giving Joe the hands like he did AJ. Moses Itauma, hot heavyweight prospect from the United Kingdom. 11-0, 9 inside the distance, 20 years of age, was challenged by Charles Martin, who has a record of 30 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 27 inside the distance. Actually a surprisingly high stoppage percentage. He's 38 years of age. He's also a former IBF heavyweight champion. He has challenged Moses Itauma, saying he can knock out anybody, especially a 20-year-old. I ran a Google poll, 290 votes so far, 76% want to see the fight. Frank Warren said he's open to it, to a fight with Charles Martin, but what they're saying is they're likely to go for that WBA regular belt that Kubrat Pulev has. I'd like to see it, but Charles Martin has already been a world champion. He's had his shot at the big time, but his heyday is more than likely over at 38 years of age. Hasn't been a champion for 9 years. Now, Moses is the bankable commodity. I'm just talking from the standpoint of how I think Frank Warren would likely view this call out. That's what I'm doing. I'm not saying what I want. I'd like to see the fight. But Charles Martin doesn't get to call out one of the hottest prospects in world boxing, not British boxing, in world boxing. You don't get to call him out. If that fight is of any interest to Frank Warren or Moses Itauma, they will call Charles Martin on their time and on their schedule, not on Charles Martin's. It's similar to what I was saying with Ben Whittaker when the Ghanaian kid crashed the press conference and demanded a fight and actually got a fight. He shouldn't technically have got the fight, really, because no one knew who he was. Whittaker took the fight. He looked like ass in there. The guy took him the distance. He didn't get the knockout like he was promising Ben. And his subsequent performance after that may have been carryover from a lack of confidence from that performance. If it was Ben Whittaker's decision to say, yeah, I want to fight Ezra, if it was his decision, Ben Shalom should have asserted his authority. If you're going to pay them all that money to do matchmaking and promote your career, and then you want to take the role over, you have to ask yourself, do you know more than what they know? Frank Warren's been promoting fights, unlicensed fights, since the 70s, professional fights since the 80s, 1980. But Ben Shalom's a rookie, and the matchmaking process has a lot of nuance about it, where you need to put the kid in with good competition, and they've done that with Moses. Dempsey McKean was an acceptable opponent. He had previously been world ranked and gave Filip Hrgovic, when he was unbeaten, all the work he could need before he stopped in the 12th. But at the same time, there's a skill to matchmaking. If Frank Warren and whoever else is in the matchmaking process at Queensbury didn't think there was at least a high probability, let's say 85%, not certainty, but belief that Moses would get the W against McKean, they wouldn't have took the fight. They're not trying to put Moses in fights where the bookmakers are going to have him an underdog, because he's only 20 and he's only had 11 fights. Now, if Usyk said, yeah, I'll fight Moses right now, they'll take the fight, because they'll have a chance of having the youngest heavyweight champion in the history of the sport. That is a risk worth taking. In a fight, he'll be a huge underdog, but it's worth taking a risk. What does Charles Martin have to offer? If Moses breezes through Charles Martin, they're going to say, well, he was supposed to do that. Charles Martin was washed. He's 38. The last prospect Charles Martin fought, Jared Anderson, he didn't call out Jared Anderson. They called him. He came over from the PBC to fight on a top rank card. Some people would tell you that it's an easy fight, too easy for Moses. For a 20-year-old with 11 fights to fight a former IBF champion who has stopped 27 of his 30 wins. Once again, he's had 3 times the amount of fights that kid always had. His losses, okay, he was stopped in 2 by Anthony Joshua. The Luis Ortiz loss, he was ahead on the scorecards, had Ortiz down a couple of times in a really good fight. And it's weird, the modern day boxing media and fan, They don't consider you might have been in a competitive fight. That's a loss. And you're just written off. It's a perfectly good fight, man. Perfectly good fight. I don't know what standard they think they're adhering to if they think I'm keeping it old school. No, you're not keeping it old school. You're not keeping it old school. Charles Martin is a good fight for anyone, frankly, in the top 10. Top 15 is a good fight. Let alone 11 fight novice. Who do you think the old school fighters were fighting? They were fighting tough guys who might have L's on their records, a couple of losses. But like Charles Martin, they have some good performances. When he lost to Adam Kownacki, Kownacki was on a hot streak. And that fight could have been scored a draw. Kownacki was offered the AJ fight when Jarrell Miller screwed up the bag. Was he offered it before Ortiz or after? But he was well ranked at the time. Ranked high enough that they offered him the fight. He was putting wins together. I'd expect Itauma to win the fight, even though I doubt it's going to happen. But I'd expect Charles Martin to give him a few different looks, a few things to work out before Moses got him out of there. And if Moses just blew him out without breaking a sweat, then it would probably just confirm that, yes, this kid more than likely is something special.
Boxing. Beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
Dillian Whyte, his current record is 31 wins, 3 losses. His record may be amended to 31-2. They're saying his first fight with Alexander PEDVETKIN is under investigation. Reports indicate that PEDVETKIN tested positive for a banned substance. Though specifics about the substance and testing timeline remain unclear. Might be a few wins on his record that have to be amended, actually, like the Carlos Takam fight in 2014. He tested positive before that. We're only finding out about it this week. The first PEDVETKIN fight was in August 2020. Dillian got revenge 2021, but although he got his mandatory against Tyson in 2022, the first PEDVETKIN loss, it derailed him. He would have more than likely got a shot 2021. I have to say it is what it is. Alexander PEDVETKIN's reputation is in tatters right now.
Boxing. Beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
Imagine the build-up between Derek and Jarrell Miller for this fight on Saturday in Manchester. Instead, we've got Otto Wallin, basically the polar opposite to what Miller brings in terms of smack talk. Let's not forget, he should be in the opposing corner in Manchester against Derek Chisora, but he had to pull out. His promoter, Dimitri Salita, has a matching right, and it looks like he was trying to get the max out of this fight. And for whatever reasons, Miller had to withdraw from the fight. The fight with Chisora is off, he said, is what he posted in Instagram. He called Dimitri Salita the dirtiest human being he's ever met in his life, a piece of shit. Him and his lawyer, John Wirt, compulsive liars. This is Derek's last fight in the UK, Manchester, this Saturday. Stylistically, Miller, a better matchup for Derek. I'm not saying Derek would have beat Miller, but we know Miller's going to bring the fight to his opponent like he does every fight. Otto Wallin is a southpaw who likes to maintain range, especially if his opponent is shorter than him like Derek is. I mean, when's the last time Otto Wallin for a 6-punch combination? I have a feeling Otto's going to win. I was surprised Derek took Otto Wallin as the replacement. I don't think Derek will be able to take breaks on the ropes like he did against Joe Joyce and still be able to set up traps and light Joyce up. I don't think Wallin will offer such openings like that. Controversial scorecard at the least. The fight's flying under the radar a little. We can all agree on that. And why has Frank Warren got Derek fighting in Manchester? It's also an IBF eliminator, which Derek wasn't too happy about because he says, them eliminators, if you win them, you're forced to sit and wait it out for lengthy periods.
Boxing. Beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
I'm so confused. Damn, it hurts.
In Savannah Marshall's own words, humiliated and confused. She will not be fighting on the March the 7th card, the all-ladies affair, when Natasha Jonas had a welterweight unification against Lauren Price. In Savannah Marshall's words, she feels disrespected. She was told to travel all the way to London where her fight was supposed to be announced, and it wasn't. She said instead she was sidelined, left feeling humiliated. She honestly thought she would not have been treated with such disrespect. She says due to disputes with Boxer, she will not be fighting on March the 7th. They're saying something similar has happened with Mick Hennessy's daughter, FRAN Hennessey. She was supposed to have a world title fight on the card. She agreed terms with her opponent, but Boxer won't put the fight on. Boxer claimed they made Savannah an offer, but were unable to reach an agreement with her management. They hope to work with her in the future, as they've had some incredible experiences. I'm not sure Savannah stays after this. I'm not sure about that. I mean, she's been pretty inactive as well, partly because she's been dabbling in MMA. I was told that Sky didn't report the story on their website, as it's not covering them in the greatest light.
Boxing. Beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
It's all too much to handle. Canelo versus Crawford cancelled. Now they're talking about winner takes all, Canelo versus Jake Paul. Talking about a featherweight brawl between INOUE and Nick Ball. Nick talking about he's the A side, but Nick couldn't be the A side whether it was on Merseyside or Brookside. But I wish him all the best in trying to put INOUE on his backside. Let's see if the fight takes place. Peace.
Boxing. Beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.